Welcome to another episode of the What Moves Her podcast. We are live from Compass International headquarters in our brand new podcast space. I wish you could see this whole room. It is absolutely beautiful. I'm joined by founder of What Moves Her and my co-host Sue Yannaccone, and a very special guest, Compass Brokerage's first ever female president, Neda Navab. Welcome to the show.
It's so wonderful to be with both of you.
So happy to have you here. It's so awesome. What a day, right?
Perfect
This is so
day.
cool.
We've already had so much fun before we started filming,
Yeah.
so we'll save some of the fun for everybody listening today. All right, Neda, let's jump in. Beyond the title, who is Neda? Let's get to know you personally and professionally. I've met you probably 2 months ago, immediately felt your energy in the room and knew that you were someone that we were gonna be so excited to work with. So let's get to know you.
Well, first of all, right back at both of you. I remember my first interactions with each of you and being so energized at the opportunity to get to be a part of this together. Beyond the resume, look, I would say a very big part of my identity is being the child of immigrants. Both of my parents are born and raised in the Middle East, in Iran. And so all the stereotypical things that you know about the child of immigrants are very, very true to me. You know, I believe in hard work. I believe a lot in family values, believe a lot in the value of education, and very, very, very family oriented. I'm the mom of 2 little kiddos. Theo is 5 and Maya, my little firecracker, turns 2 on the 4th of July.
Oh, that's awesome.
Perfect.
She's the daughter that my mother said, you know, when I was my toughest teenage years, like, I hope you have a daughter just like yourself. And I can tell you at 2, I definitely have a carbon copy of myself in all the good and bad ways. Sue and I have joked about this a little bit.
Yes.
And, you know, you said energy. I'm a very big energy person. Like, I
You
really
have such
believe
good energy. You could feel it when
Truly.
you enter a room.
Yes.
When you make eye contact, it exudes out of you. It's really like you can genuinely feel it.
Well, I appreciate that. Look, I believe that what we put out in the world is what we get back. And I think we are all energy, to be a little woo-woo. And that really matters to me.
Someone clip that for social. I like that.
It's a good one.
And so I care a lot about how I leave my kids feeling at the end of the day. I care a lot about the energy I bring home to my friends and family at the end of a long day or long week. And I care a lot about that in the workplace as well. So I'd say very family oriented, very stereotypical child of immigrants, and very big on sort of the energy and vibe I put out in the world.
I love that. I'm laughing because when we had our daughter, my father came in the room and he goes, "Oh, it's a girl. Paybacks." So far, she's so much better than I ever was. So we're blessed thus far. But you know, you talk about your family and the importance of family, both your family that you're raising and also the family that you came from, and the values that instilled in you, including hard work. Your mother was a real estate professional, correct?
She was, yes.
Yeah, talk a little bit about that and the influence that has had on you, and maybe leading into, we'll talk a little bit about why real estate for you as a career. But I'm curious how that influenced you.
Yeah, you know, folks at Compass know, but a lot of our broader audience may not know. My mom fled Iran in 1979 when the Islamic Revolution broke out. So if you can imagine, she was a little teenage girl, put on a one-way flight with a little brother, and that was it. They had no parents alongside them. They couldn't take any money out of the country. They just got a one-way ticket out of the country and landed in a foreign place in Boston, Massachusetts. And she never got to graduate from high school, right? So she never got to start college. And she was she was like cut from a very similar cloth to a lot of the women that we work with, this very ambitious woman. And so she took the only job she could get at the age of 17 in a foreign land, which was working behind the counter at a Dunkin' Donuts. Do not put a box of donuts in front of that woman to this day. By the way, she can't stand the sight or smell or taste of them.
Good to know.
But she turned that job opportunity into another, and ended up becoming a real estate professional. And I developed such respect for this profession where you don't have to graduate from a certain school or have parents who live, you know, in a certain, you know, neighborhood in order to build a great career if you are just hungry, driven, self-driven, and people-oriented, right? You care a lot about taking care of people. And, you know, I think that grounded me in a lot of respect for the profession. But I'll tell you, it was really hard for her being a Middle Eastern woman in the 80s and 90s in New York as a real estate professional.
Grit.
Total grit and resilience. People didn't trust people who looked like her or had a name like mine. And I think she really had to prove herself. And I loved how meritocratic real estate could be, right? That if you worked really hard and you connected with people and you served them, you could build a great career. And I think that always really motivated me about the industry.
It's amazing. I didn't know that.
I also didn't
Yeah.
know that
Wow.
until I was doing a little bit of digging on just your background, and I think that's amazing. It obviously plays into the leader you are today.
Absolutely.
I think it's great when someone has a front row seat into real estate and then has a leadership position in this company. It's really important. I think the other side of it, though, is, you talked about education being important. You have some pretty impressive chops when it comes to your academic career. So can we talk about academia? And I know that you spent some time at McKinsey. What has that given you in combination with seeing firsthand the entrepreneurial spirit, the grit, the grind, but having that academic background? How do you marry and blend all of those together? And what has that done for you as a leader in your place today?
So I joke in my family growing up, you could either be a doctor, a lawyer, or a failure. And that was sort of like, those were the options, right? Because all my parents really knew about success were these very traditional, stereotypical paths. So there was that in the background. And then, we still came from a really modest family. We were in one of the best public school districts in New York, but had, like the most affordable home in that neighborhood, right? And what that gave me was this innate desire to be financially independent. I always knew that I wanted to earn my own money and cash my own checks and make my own financial decisions. And so for me, what that translated to being the child of immigrants was a very risk-averse approach to my early years, right? Get into the best schools that you can, get traditional career opportunities that could give you almost like a safety net. If you've got those things on your resume, it felt like no matter what, no one could ever take that away from you, that degree that you got or that, first job that you had. And so to me, it just felt like a safety net that my parents never got to have because of their circumstance. But I think I leveraged that and a little bit of that grit and resilience and spirit. I think immigrants are the ultimate entrepreneurs, right? They are truly betting on themselves and taking massive risk. And so I think
real estate agents do every day. You bet on yourself every day.
Exactly. I think that's why I find the profession and the real estate professionals that we serve so inspiring. Like that is the DNA. Yeah. And so I think it was that combination that to me really attracted me to the industry. And then look, because it was not the easiest professional experience for my mom, I always knew it could be better. I knew there could be a better way to build a brokerage or to be an agent serving his or her community. And so I think it all sort of intersected.
There's a saying on TikTok, like the Gen Zers say this a lot, we made the right person famous. They made the right person president of Compass Brokerage. Like you have such a deep understanding and appreciation for the profession, the journey, the grit and the just perseverance you need in this industry. We made the right person in the leadership position. Robert made a really wise choice. It's so obvious.
I agree, and I think it's really interesting, because you have a more traditional background, but bring with it the experience, the mindset, the deep understanding of the role of an entrepreneur, of a real estate agent. And, I started as an agent. We talked about it on our last podcast. And it wasn't for me, right? But I've never lost that understanding of what it means to, you're not getting a paycheck every Friday just for showing up. You're not, there's this get up every day and you're starting over and it's all on you. And so that criticality of understanding has helped build the support models that we have. And it's so important. I know you talk about that with your teams as well, just understanding who we are serving in this role.
Yes.
And, I think about how every day they have a choice, right, where they want to build their business. And so, when you think about serving your agents and leading that way, because I think you have a kind of a servant leadership mentality, the way I think I do sometimes. How do you marry those two in leading your teams and building that culture building upon the culture that obviously Robert started? You've had a front row seat to, for sure. Like in the more traditional sort of educational background and corporate sort of mindset with that mindset that you have.
I think so much of it is people, whether they be agents or employees, they want to see you walk the talk, you know? And I think I would never ask someone to do something that I wouldn't do. And we need to walk the talk of the agents who work for us as well. You know, my first job in New York City when I was a student at Columbia was actually at a real estate firm. So I was working at this little boutique on Irving Place called Adina Real Estate. And I was showing rentals in like the throes of July and August, like the heat of summer in New York City. I was showing rentals to like overheated, angry New Yorkers in Lower Manhattan. And you know, like I've had the experience where you've been given the wrong set of keys, but you only realize when you have a line of people for an open house behind you and you're going to try to unlock the door for the 5th floor walk up in the Village. And that's when you realize you've been given the wrong set of keys, or, you know, accidentally left really important paperwork in a bathroom at a Starbucks or something, you know? And I think however you can help your employee team who services the real estate professional walk in the agent's shoes, whether that be by getting them face-to-face in person, sharing the anecdotes, using direct quotes from agents. I think that really helps. I think that it's an industry that really benefits from a high level of empathy for how hard it can be, because TV makes the profession look so easy.
Selling Sunset's doing great for our
and
industry.
so glamorous, you know? And the reality for 99.99% of agents is not that.
Yeah.
You're not sure. Glenda Baker does a good job of that. She's like, I'm in these like rain boots in the mud. I'm not in my heels.
It's a tough profession.
Sue described your leadership style as one of being a servant leader, which I totally agree with. I know you've talked a lot about the importance of listening. I know you just came off 100 days of travel. I also want to ask you, for everybody, because I know the answer, how many days you spent in a hotel room, because it ties back to family. But talk about why 100 days of travel? Like, why was that important to you as you started on this journey of your new role? What have you gotten from it? What was the purpose? And, you know, reflecting back on that, what have you learned from all that listening that you did?
Look, all of the real estate professionals across all of Compass International Holdings are in a moment of change, right? The entire structure of the organization is changing. For some, it feels like more change than others. And we're in a moment of a lot of industry change. And you know, I think what people expect is when a company gets bigger, the leaders are going to get even further away from them, right? That's like the natural order of things. They're more removed, they see people less frequently, they're further from the field. And I wanted to walk the talk and say that is the opposite of what is going to happen. Our leaders are going to get even closer to you. And so we came up with this idea that sounded really great on day one.
Kind of like when you have plans on
Friday. Friday night plans. Yeah, sounds great on Monday.
So good, I love that.
Sounded good on a Monday, and not so great on a Friday night.
Yeah, come Friday, never mind.
No, we definitely have that in common. Yeah. And so I said, let's do 100 events in 100 days, and let's get to as many quarters of the country and as many offices as we can. Because then people will see me walking the talk, and they'll see that nothing is changing, right? Our leaders are only going to get closer as the business continues to evolve and grow. And so I ended up doing 125 agent events in 100 days.
Overachiever.
I traveled, up and down, coast to coast. But to Lindsay's point, so I only spent in those 100 days 3 nights sleeping in a hotel bed. I spent a few nights sleeping on an airplane.
I was just going to say, and how are you on a plane, right? Yeah.
But it was really important to me to walk back in the door the following morning before whatever next train I needed to catch and just see Theo and Maya in the morning, right? So to be the first face that Maya sees when she wakes up, because that really matters to me. And I know it matters to her, even though she's only 2.
It matters.
And to be the person who drives Theo that 5-minute drive to school. I think, not that I have memories from when I was, Thea and Maya's age necessarily, but I think if you have certain boundaries that you draw, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. It becomes easier to draw those boundaries over time. And so that was my one boundary, was I'm not gonna hit the easy button and just spend the night in whatever market I'm traveling to. But I'll tell you, what did I learn on that journey? It's like back to basics. I think we're all so smart. Everyone who works in this industry and at this company, we want to make real estate a more complicated business than it is. It's a really simple business, right? It's making people, whether they're clients or the agents or the franchise owners that you serve, it's making people feel seen, heard, understood, and appreciated. And your ability to do that in person is so much greater than remotely.
So true.
And then it makes my job easier. I get the cheat sheets. When I'm in person, I really understand what's happening in the market, what matters. And then I go home with a bunch of homework and I know what to prioritize.
Yeah, it's. I'm actually wishing I had those boundaries set. I think of that often, right? Because I used to travel a lot, like a lot. I worked in California, lived in Jersey, was on planes every week when my daughter was around that age, and I remember taking the red eyes to try and make sure I could get the bottle in the morning before I took her. I'm setting those boundaries more now as I'm older, as she's in a different stage. So I really applaud you for doing that because it is tough on you to say, I'm going to take the red eye, I'm going to do this, but it is meaningful and it sets the boundary and your team sees you doing that as well, which I think is so important to set the leadership vision and walk the walk, not just for leading your agents and your company, but for your employees to see that you can be successful and operate at the highest level and deliver tremendous value but have healthy boundaries and prioritize things. And so I think that's really, I applaud you for that because it is something that will carry you and help you build success upon success because it protects that family unit. It's just, it's really, I applaud you for that.
I do too. I think that a lot of young moms are going to be inspired by you. When we talk about what moves her, knowing that family is probably almost always the answer behind somebody, but finding the ways to really make it all happen. And we joke about balance not existing, but finding the balance that works for you is crucial. So I think a lot of people watching this and learning about that are going to be inspired for sure. All right, let's shift gears. You get a call from Robert saying, you are my successor. Can't imagine what that call feels like, right? I can't imagine your brain just processing everything. Stepping into that type of role after a founder is challenging because you want to protect the integrity of what he's built, but you also want to make space for yourself. So talk to us a little bit about how you are preserving what he's built while also making it the Neda chapter of Compass Brokerage.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not a situation where you can walk in someone else's shoes. You know, the founder is so unique, and Robert of all founders is so distinct. Look, I think what is, to me, really exciting for our Compass real estate professionals is they kind of get to have two leaders now, right? There's Robert, who is operating, at 30,000 feet. The time horizon that he is operating on is, like 5-10-year vision. He's almost the CEO of the industry right now in the role that he's playing. And then our professionals also get me, right? And all I am doing is waking up every day and I'm thinking about their business, right? This week, this market, this year, this quarter, their numbers, and what do they need to be successful in the now? And Robert's thinking about what do they need to be successful if I zoom out and think, 2, 3, 4 years
It's
ahead.
a sustainable future for them. Future
Exactly.
for their business, truly.
Exactly.
Not just for our agents, but our consumers. I've really enjoyed watching the way he's trying to future-proof this business for not just our agents, but their clients in a way that feels fair and equitable. It's been amazing to have a front row seat to that.
Yeah, it really has. Yeah.
And I think it can get lost a little bit in terms of, when you're busy in your day-to-day as a real estate professional, like what is all this stuff in the headlines? But I think, he really has this ability to zoom out. He talks to leaders across the organization, across brands, different pockets of the industry. So his ability to zoom out is an incredible asset, I think, for everybody now in the Compass International Holdings umbrella. And for me, to the other part of your question, Lindsay, I think probably for each of the 9 brands that we now have, and certainly Compass specifically, the future success is grounded in the roots that have made the company successful for so long. So this isn't a moment of reinvention, right, or like net new wild innovation. It's making sure we don't lose what has made the company so successful. It's very entrepreneurial, even as it's grown to be, close to 40,000 agents. It still feels sometimes a little too scrappy and startup-y, but it still has that root, the entrepreneurial root, the move fast and then figure the things out roots. And I want to make sure that we're amplifying identifying the strengths that brought us to where we are to take us to where we need to go next. But in the context now of this incredible opportunity to collaborate across these 9 brands that didn't exist before.
And one of the things that I really like listening, I've heard you say it many times, is big is your advantage, but boutique is your differentiator. Or it's something like that. I'm not going to get it perfect, but I think that you say it so well and so succinctly, and I'm seeing you maintain that startup boutique-y feel, but leveraging all the new things that have unlocked from this merger, from a tech stack, from a partnership, cross-functional leadership. Just, I've seen you pull the levers in a really interesting way just in your first 100 days. So I think the Compass brokerage agents probably are feeling really excited to know that they're not losing anything and this is all additive and that's all added value.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you can relate to this with the brands that you've worked so closely with. Generally, I don't think real estate professionals want to raise their hand to work for a big corporation, right? They wouldn't have come into the industry if that's what they wanted. But I want them to know that they have the power of this big company behind them. So what I've been saying is big is your engine, but boutique is your edge, right? And what that means is
that it's so much better, so much better. And I've heard her say it like 3 times.
I've had 100 days of practice.
Like a lot. Dude, the next time I get it, I'm gonna nail it. I got it. I got it.
But I think this is probably going to be the case for a lot of the real estate professionals across Compass International Holdings. They're going to have the power of this big engine, this incredible platform, the leadership, the best leadership in the entire industry now sits right under Robert. This global referral network. They have all of that. The big is what gives them authority in the living room. But boutique is their edge, right? You walk into a Compass office and the fact that your sales manager knows to ask how the inspection that morning went, right? Or recognize that milestone listing agreement that you just got signed, right? Or the agent knows to compliment you on the incredible advertisement they saw on the local train line in the morning, you know? And that matters because clients hire our agents, both for the big engine that supports them, but the boutique, they're hiring Sue, they're hiring Lindsay because they're the expert on that 1 square mile around the local school that they want to live in. And so in order for our agents to deliver the best of big and boutique for their clients, I think we have to deliver that for them every day.
Yeah, it's honestly what we talk about, and I think is the expansion of that power and leverage that comes with the scale of an enterprise like ours, is finding the pieces, parts that are additive to the agent's business, to the franchise owner's business, not to take away or strip away, but truly to add to, because at the end of the day, it is that living room, that kitchen table conversation and what that individual brings, chooses to leverage to make their superpower in the marketplace. And I think that's a really important thing as we look across all these brands. What are the unique, the unique drivers in each of those? But ultimately, it's that agent that sits there that chooses to leverage what we have, what we bring to them. But that entrepreneurial spirit is so critical. And it's one of the things I've loved seeing be kind of reinfused into the Anywhere ecosystem. And it's so important that we rolled out the entrepreneurship principles from Robert, like the 9 of them, as part of our internal culture. And I think it's so important because that is fundamentally the business we're feeding and fueling, right? So while we have all of these brands and multiple different ways in which we reach a marketplace, it is about what is unique to that agent sitting at the table? What is their unique edge for that consumer, which is, unique to that individual? Yeah.
All right, I need to switch gears and have a confession. Sue did something that she doesn't know that she did, but recently she influenced me. We were talking, I was like, oh, your jewelry looks so pretty. What is that ring? It's an Aura ring. I was like, oh, tell me about an Aura ring. So I am now influenced, consider me influenced. I wear one every day. I know more
I'm such an influencer, clearly.
Tell Sammy you're an influencer. I know more about my day and myself than I care to know now.
Correct.
Between my sleep and my heart palpitations and all these things. But the reason I'm bringing this up is because I have really good insight into my day. We have highly visible roles, we have crazy calendars, and my Aura ring is coaching me on finding 15 minutes to kind of unplug and unwind in the day. So my question to you, Neda, is, like I said, calendar's intense, highly visible role. Like, what are the small things you're still doing for yourself to still feel like you at the end of the day?
This is the hardest question that you've asked me.
And it could be something you need to work on, honestly, because I know for me, I was shocked to see my spikes through the day.
Yeah. You know, I don't have like a regular morning habit or evening habit. I don't have the luxury of having a regular morning or evening habit right now.
Right.
I will tell you the two things that keep me grounded is movement. So I try to squeeze in a little bit of fitness, and I try to
boot camp I was reading.
definitely into the boot camp style classes, and I try to do it with a friend.
that's
right.
nice.
So, don't do the fitness classes alone. It's one of the only times that I have time for me, and so I might as well make it time for me plus somebody in my life.
That's nice.
And then, I'll tell you something else people may not know, but so my husband and I love music. We love live music. We love music festivals. We love to dance.
What kind of music?
So we're gonna go in 2 weeks to the Palm Tree Festival with Kygo. We love electronic music.
Me and my husband too. We're gonna have to get together on
You're
this.
gonna be there?
No, I'm saying we
Oh,
love that
okay.
kind of music too. We do. We love like EDM, and that's so cool. I didn't know about you.
Yeah. So that's not an every week sort of thing,
Yeah.
but maybe once every 4 to 8 weeks we try to go see a show. We'll do it together, do it with friends, and so it's not probably as regularly as I would like. But it's regrounding myself in the things that give me energy, right? Which is movement and fun.
That's so fun.
That's awesome. The Aura Ring told me that I had like major symptoms brewing the other day. I was like,
storm
I
is
feel like I
brewing.
need to look into this. Like, I don't know what's happening. I feel totally fine. So it's like, be careful what you wish for. It can tell you an awful lot.
Right.
Yeah.
I might need another 5 years before I'm ready.
Don't
for
do
an
it.
Aura
Don't do
Ring.
it just yet. Don't
It has
listen.
been really fun, but
it's
I'm
great. But
also horrified by my habits
it's
now.
the best thing for sleep. Like I will tell you, I was sleeping much better because and actually I was influenced because I was out to dinner with Robert one of the first weeks on the job, and he was like, "Oh, do you wear one of those?" At the time, I was wearing something else, and he goes, "I wear mine for sleep." And so he has one he wears on occasion. So it's like, oh, maybe I'll. Anyway, we're.
That's great. I
Apparently
love that.
Very,
Aura
very
Ring
interesting.
sponsor us.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
And Kygo.
Yeah, exactly.
And Kygo,
Yeah.
yes, all the tickets, please. Okay, we're going to end with, I talked about this on the last episode, and I think I'm just going to make this a reoccurring thing because I really like them, but I really love the 8 entrepreneurial principles. When I was being read in on them, what they stood for, why they existed, I really gravitated towards each of them and understood why they have to play a role in the business that we're creating. One of the ones that I know Robert loves is Dream Big. So let's close our What Moves Her podcast today with what is your Dream Big vision for the next year as you take on this role for Compass Brokerage, for yourself, as we, finish out 2026 and move into the next year?
Yeah, I love that question. I love the dream big also. My dream big vision for our Compass real estate professionals would be that everyone at some point in the next few months has a moment of, this reminds me of the early days when I joined Compass, whether that was 2 years ago or 12 years ago, that we're able to have such a boutique-oriented client service mindset in terms of how our employees are serving the agent, that they all are like, this reminds me of when the office was only 20 people or when this market was only 200 agents. I can't believe that they did that for me or remembered that or followed up in that way, or that Neda reached out, Sue, I met this woman, incredible woman, Lindsay. I hope that there's something that just feels so boutique in their day-to-day. And then for our employees, my dream big is that they get the benefit of the incredible people infrastructure that you all have invested so much time in, and that I know is a source of pride. I've spent a lot of time talking to Sue and Tanya about it. I hope that they feel that they are getting the benefit of that and that they're feeling the reinvestment, because at the end of the day, our real estate professionals can only be as successful as the people behind the scenes setting them up for success across every department. And I want those heroes to feel the benefit of this incredible merger as well.
I love that. Well, Neda, they definitely say that every company has the right president for the right time, and you, without a doubt, are the right president for Compass at this time. And I am so proud of you. I'm so excited to see what you do in this role. And I look forward to seeing all of the big dreams you have for Compass and for Compass International Holdings come to fruition in the next year. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you
you.
both. This is such a privilege.
No, it's been so much fun. We knew the second you were named in this position. I think I texted you that
think
day.
you
I was
did,
like, we need
yeah.
Neda on the podcast. So you delivered exactly what I thought you did, which was just energy and value and passion. And We're so excited to see you succeed because we know that you will. I would love to have you back on the show at some point because it's just so fun having
much fun.
girls that.
I would love that. You know, I'm so proud of Women of Compass, which is the group that we've built,
Yes.
you know, over the last 10, 15 years. And, you know, Women of Compass isn't going anywhere. I think it's going to enter a new, even stronger chapter ahead.
Absolutely.
But the collaboration opportunities that we have with what you've built here and with this platform and just across the brands, to me, I mean, it's such an opportunity to lift up the amazing women across Compass International Holdings. So thank you for bringing me in to be a part of this today.
Thank
Yes,
you.
absolutely. We're bringing you in, and I think to your point, bringing in the Women of Compass. We've talked about doing like a mixer or a party or something, so we're going to get working on that. That'll be great. Thank you, everyone, for listening and watching to our What Moves Her podcast. We have another podcast coming out probably within the next 2 to 3 weeks, so keep watching. If you haven't subscribed to our newsletter, go to whatmovesher.com, and of course, follow us on Instagram, What Moves Her. See you soon.